Hi, my name is Kiana. My purpose of this speech today is to introduce myself to my professor and my fellow classmates and to guide and give you an introspect into my life and how I got where I am today. So could you imagine being an African American woman in the US and not really knowing what country your citizenship is in? It's kind of crazy at my big age. But that's kind of like when I got this assignment, that was kind of gave me some kind of introspection to myself to question and see that that's kind of been my life's path, like not knowing where I fit in or where I belong. And that's kind of the theme of my life and the theme of this speech. So I'm gonna guide you from, my birth, having an international beginning, from my adolescence to my teen years and to now and how I got where I am. So in the beginning, my dad is a U.S. vet. He was in the Air Force. During this time before I was born, my family was stationed overseas in Landstuhl, Germany. And my mom was stationed there, my dad and my 3 siblings. My mom found out she was pregnant. It was an accident because she was on birth control. Who knew she could get pregnant? She went to the doctor and flat out called him a lie. And that was kind of my first situation where I was somewhere I didn't belong. Went on to have me, of course, and then I grew up. We were in Germany from the time I was 3 years old until the time I was about 10. From the time I was born to the time I was about 3 years old. And my dad, we were stationed on another base. During my upbringing, of course, I said I had 3 older siblings. I was always playfully teased that I was a German spy and I was given to my parents so I can collect all this information. And at some point, my real mother would come back and get me and take me back. Again, that kind of like substantiated the way I felt, or like solidifies in my head now that that's kind of where my journey started. And them being the older 3 siblings, they were a group in and of themselves that I didn't belong into. So my older brother would say things like, well, I get to watch Maurice grow up, Maurice gets to watch Moana grow up, but you only get to watch the dog grow up. So that was just kind of my foundation. That led me into, that dynamic in my early years kind of led me into my adolescent years and early teens. That set the stage for that. I went to a school, most of the schools I went to, like in primary and middle school, were predominantly white children. So being an African American or being the only African American student in certain classes and certain social situations, it led me to think about myself differently. There was, a standard among white children that I couldn't fit into because of who I am. So that led me to think a lot about my self-image, and it had an effect on my self-identity. I think in my middle school years, it just kind of solidified that I didn't fit in. They had different dynamics in their family. I, again, couldn't identify with that. And it led to me having depression. Like in the end of 7th grade, the beginning of 8th grade, that's kind of when my depression set in, just because of that lack of self-identity. Moving from my middle school years to my teenage years, there was a big shift. Me and my family moved once again, so I was in a different school district. My mom wanted me to go to a school that was a college-bound high school, so we had to apply. Needless to say, we got in, me and my sister, and I went from being in a predominantly white school district to being in a predominantly black school district. And that, even though I am black, I went into culture shock. I went there and I couldn't identify with these kids because I had spent so much time trying to identify with kids that didn't look like me. That first year was a huge adjustment for me. I had to learn how to interact with my peers that looked like me, and there's different social norms for black teens and white teens, and that's just how society is. So going through that school, it really taught me how to value myself, how to see the beauty in myself, how to see the beauty in my culture. And that was a catalyst to change for me. Although I did have depression, although I was diagnosed with depression just from my early years and from not being able to identify, I think this school taught me pride in who I was. And this is where I learned from then till now, how to accept myself and who I was. It had a big impact on me now in my identity, in my adulthood. I have spent all my life being a caregiver. I work in hospitals. I work 2 jobs. I'm big on customer service. I'm a CNA currently by trade. My path goal was to be a nurse because my mom was a nurse, my grandmother was a nurse, and this is just my life path. I decided recently, throughout my studies, that coming to a place where I value myself, my looks, my identity as an African American woman, I have decided now that I kind of have found my place. I don't want to be in nursing. I do not want to change myself as I've done years past to be something else for somebody else. So I've decided recently that I'm gonna use my education to go into social work so that I can help people to become and to be able to identify and want to be themselves and find value in themselves. I feel like, everybody at the end of the day has a goal to reach, and I think that being able to share your story with somebody is very important. Absolutely. So at the end of the day, I took you through my childhood, I took you through my adulthood and my adolescence, and that path has led me to where I am today. I feel like everybody should take introspection to their life. It's okay to question, it's okay to not know what you want, it's okay to decide that you may want to do something else. I encourage you to look in your life and make sure that you're doing what you want to do for you, because that's most important. Thank you.